Hello and welcome back to another episode of Ringside Fracas. I'm your host Naeem, and today I'm joined by Chris. Chris, how are you, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Same old, man. Just finishing off some of my video watches for the fights over the weekend.
Mm. Yeah, it was a good weekend, big weekend for UK boxing in general because obviously Conor Benn and Chris Eubank had their rematch. And just want to give a shout out. Me, Chris, Jide, we all spent time, and Mark, we all spent time at the 505 watch party. It was a brilliant event, great turnout. It was a huge turnout, and that event was fantastic. And what the 505 Shy, what she's done, what she's cultivated, is absolutely amazing. So I want to give a big shout out to the 505 watch parties, and make sure you're down there for the next one. Yeah.
Yeah, big up, big up.
So of course, I mean, there's loads. I mean, one thing I kind of covered about the last couple of weeks was that boxing has been on a kind of a slow break, but in the last 2 weeks, it's picked up a bit, and there's a lot to cover. Of course, last weekend you had Conor Benn defeat Chris Eubank in a very, very one-sided bout, where he dropped Chris Eubank twice in the final round, and he dominated almost basically every single round. I think Eubank probably had one round if you gave it to him. Um, and yeah, it was a rematch where there was a lot on the line. Obviously, Chris Eubank and Benn's first fight was quite entertaining, quite dramatic, and Eubank did more than enough to win. But this was a complete reverse, and Benn did everything he could to really rubber stamp his authority on the fight. Um, Going into that fight, I think most people would have picked Eubank. I think Eubank was the betting favorite, and rightly so. You look at the first fight, and he won it with some hairy moments, but he won it quite wide. Uh, but this fight, you could just see from round one, as soon as the bell started, and we were watching it together, Chris, and I was saying from round one, his legs just didn't seem to be there. It was just everything just felt stiff. It felt lethargic. It felt like he didn't have much pop, not in just his shots, but in his movement, and it
Mm.
felt like he was resigning himself to a loss early on. I didn't see any attempt to try wake himself up, to try get himself into the fight. But you can't obviously take away from the adjustments from Benn. I think Benn made some good adjustments. He started using his jab more, something he neglected in the first fight. He went to the body more. He pressed Chris Eubank much more often, and he obviously has the faster hand speed, and he was playing more to his advantage, but not really being over aggressive most of the times. There were a lot of the times where I thought he smothered his shots, and again, his distance management isn't great. But it was a good performance from Benn. It was a much better performance than what he did in the first fight. Um, but yeah, to come back to Eubank, I think that is a shot fighter, and that was shown in his last couple of years. We mentioned it when we watched the Smith fight, and even the Smith 2 fight where he beat up Smith. We even mentioned that it was great and tactical brilliance, but there's still that feeling that he's on the slide and he's on the decline. And we were mentioning that for the first Benn fight, and you saw it now that it's not a surprise. And people might think, well, this seems like it happened overnight. It doesn't. It takes its time. These things can look like it happens overnight, but it happens over training. And Eubank might have noticed this, especially during the training camp, that the things weren't just clicking. But then also what can compound it is that weight cut. You can't keep doing these type of weight cuts, especially if you're really dry at 160 and then you're not allowed to let yourself rehydrate properly. It's not an excuse for Eubank because those were the terms that he agreed to. He wasn't forced into it. He could have easily said no to these two fights, but he wanted to fight these two fights, and that's what he got. It's bad management. It's completely bad management from his team. But this is the game. You get what you get. You don't do much more beyond that. You only get what you're worth. And Conor Benn in this fight played a blinder. I mean, he's had 2 fights now where he's made tens of millions. He's got that win now over Eubank, and now he can go on to be a star and command title shots that he doesn't deserve, but he'll go and get because he's got the money. So it was a great night for Conor Benn. But for Chris Eubank, I wouldn't say it was a horror show, but it's a sign that maybe now's the time to hang it all up, because had that been another fighter, had that been someone like a Hamza Shiraz that they were talking about, had that been anyone at 160, Janibek or Lara or Adames, Chris
Mm.
Eubank was seriously hurt that night. But yeah, what's your thoughts, Chris, on the whole fight?
To be honest, I got quite a lot of thoughts, but I try and summarize them best as I can.
Go into as much
Um,
detail. Go into as much detail. It's just us at the moment.
right. So I think we all saw What the fight we saw on Saturday was a combination of loads of factors, and I think that's what that's the problem I have with a lot of pundits and a lot of the post-fight analysis that's been going on. There's just too much discourse around Chris Eubank being weight drained. For me, it's just it's not enough of an excuse as to why he lost. Do you know what I mean? I think one thing that people are really forgetting is they're saying that Chris Eubank didn't look himself. He looked a shadow of himself. He looked an old man out there and whatnot. Yes, all those things are true. However, the problem with saying this about Chris Eubank is they're speaking like he was top level boxer to begin with. He was never, ever, ever one of the best in his division, in my opinion. From an ability standpoint, he's always had issues. We've seen it throughout his career. Do you know what I mean? We've seen him struggle throughout all sorts of different fights. Yes, he can box. Yes, he's got some power. But none of his attributes, in my personal opinion, have ever been remarkable. One thing I've always given him was his resilience. And yes, and then, oh, sorry, Saturday, for me, it just showed that wasn't there. Um, I think another factor people are forgetting is the fact that he fought this guy before. These two fought each other. When you look at how each fighter looked at the end of that fight, Chris Eubank was way worse off. And one thing you have to factor in is it's not been that long since the first fight. It's really not been that long. The damage that he's accumulated from that first fight could still play a part in the fight that happened over the weekend. There's the fear of Conor Benn's power. Do you know what I mean? Now how each other they felt each other's power. They know how it's going to be in a ring with each other. Chris Eubank is going to be a bit fearful about taking some punches from Conor Benn. He's a younger fighter. He's a fresher fighter. He took less damage, and he's come in with a point to prove. It's a rematch, so he's going to be coy. When I first saw the first couple of rounds, what it looked like to me was that he was trying to kind of sandbag him, trying to tire him out, trying to punch himself out. If you watch Chris Eubank's movement, he was moving very, very little, a lot of controlled movement, wasn't burning any excess energy. And I feel like it got to a point where I still think he tries to do that. But I think it got to a point where he's realized that Conor Benn's not going to get as tired as he thought, number one. And number two, Conor Benn is actually hitting him to the body and tiring him, and he's getting tired out from doing that. So yeah, for me personally, Connor did what he had to do. People are saying he beat a skeleton out there, whatnot. You beat the man who's in front of you. The guy beat you a couple months ago. Do you know what I mean? You can say, oh, he should have knocked him out earlier, but nobody knew this was the Chris Eubank that we were going to find in the ring. Do you know what I mean? You have to figure that out. You still don't know. Sometimes you feel like he's trying to, you know, play mind games in the ring and whatnot. So you still got to account for everything. Um, yeah, man. Connor did what he wanted to do. Team Eubank are putting out excuses, in my opinion. There shouldn't have been any word of, oh yeah, some things happened behind the scenes or what I've had to do to get here. If you didn't want to make an excuse, don't say anything. Do you know what I mean? Let the rumors, if there's rumors going out there, let the rumors play out by themselves. We've heard rumors. We heard AJ got knocked out before he fought Andy Ruiz. Never came out of his mouth. Do you know what I mean? He could have been out there saying this was an excuse. We've heard it with loads of fighters who've had injuries in the past. Do you know what I mean? Just let bygones be bygones, innit? But yeah, man. Ultimately, um, Connor won emphatic fashion. You could argue he won every single round, and yeah, it's down to 147 for him.
Yeah, and of course, like I said, big fight week. Then we've got to get the big guns out, and we've got Jide and Dapo joining us. Jide, how you go, bro?
I'm good, brother, man. How are you, man?
Yeah, it's good seeing you on the weekend at the 505 watch party and watching the Ben Eubank rematch. Dapo, how are you, bro?
Salam, salam. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Welcome, salam, bro. It's good to see you. It's good you said salam because we're going to Saudi Arabia this Saturday. So well done for setting the tone. Dapper, I wanted to get your thoughts because obviously you weren't there, so I wanted to get your thoughts on
Yeah.
what you thought about the entire Benn Eubank rematch. Because one thing that we noticed, especially with Chris mentioned it when we were there, a lot of the reaction online because of the one-sidedness, it felt quite anticlimactic, especially for the fact that obviously there was the two knockdowns in the round 12, but the fight itself, because it was that one-sided and it wasn't really that, I want to say, entertaining on that aspect or dramatic on that aspect. A lot of people were let down. Did you feel the same?
Yes and no. So before watching the fight, I kind of made up my mind. I thought that Chris Eubank would kind of build on what he did in the first fight. But at the same time, watching this fight, you can kind of see why the fight went the way it did from the first fight. Like Chris didn't convincingly beat. No, he beat Conor. Don't get me wrong, but he struggled through that first fight, right? And when you think about the disadvantages he had in that first fight, fighting 6 months later, I'm not surprised the fight went the way it did. I think Chris probably gave everything he had left in that first fight and tried to dog his way to a victory and did dog his way to a victory. But how many times can you do that until it catches up to you? You know, there were rumors going on about, Chris wanting to postpone the fight and wanted to do it in a later time. When you start to hear things like that, you can see probably why that is the case. He didn't have much time to recover from that first fight. So I'm not surprised it went the way it did. And Chris he's older than Conor, right? Conor Benn is 29. I think Chris Eubank is like 36. Correct me if I'm wrong. His recovery time will never be as quick as Conor's. So seeing the way the fight went, I just wasn't surprised. At the same time, the game was the first fight was like so entertaining. I don't really care that the second fight went this way because I want it to stop now. I didn't even want a second fight, to be honest. So now the fight has gone this way. I'm just hoping they don't fight again because now we've seen what happens when you just take it too far. There was a very, very good chance this could have happened in the first fight. When we were talking about it initially, we said this fight could go either one or two ways. The likely outcome is for Chris Eubank to outbox Conor Benn to a points victory, but we also acknowledge the fact that Eubank is going to be coming in at a lower weight. There's a rehydration clause, and he hasn't looked great in his previous outings. The first Liam Smith fight, he was knocked out. So, it went the other way the first time. The second time, it's gone the other way. So I'm not really surprised. Was I underwhelmed? Yes, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad this happened. I just want it to be over. If we had another good fight, then they would have been calling for a third one. But it was such a shutout that I don't think there's a case to have a third fight. I just want it to finish now.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I'm kind of glad that this is over. I wasn't even the biggest fan of these two fights. Obviously, it's good for British boxing that it happened. The way it happened, how it happened, and how it came about, and the future of these two boxers, I'm not the biggest fan of. But
Exactly,
yeah,
agreed.
I'm glad that it's done. Jide, we were there, we were watching it. Your thoughts? Because I remember the ring walk was iconic. We were all hyped watching Chris Eubank come in, especially with 50 Cent and the mink
When I
outfit.
told you like 50 Cent is wash, you lot cussed me. See what happens? Wash. They want wash for wash. I told you lot.
And so the ring walk is like iconic. It seemed like, oh, Eubank, if he does it again, this is going to be a big iconic night in the Eubank family name. But of course, it went the other way around, and it was quite one-sided. And even you were looking at it. I remember you were saying that he's done, that Conor did his thing. What was your thoughts on how the fight played out, Jay?
Yeah, I think it was a good fight. It wasn't as exciting as the first fight. It was a lot more measured because Conor wasn't just mad emotional and just rushing in and trying to be like his dad and just take someone's head off. Like, listen, Conor lives up to the light skin stereotype of ADHD, man. Even in this fight, like there were times you knew There
Yo,
were times
damn.
he won the fight and he's still going there with his chin just there, like leaning in. But yeah, it was a good fight, man. It was a good fight. The ring walk was epic. Connor's ring walk was good. I didn't think it would get topped, but Chris absolutely washed him with 50 Cent. I know Dapper wasn't feeling it, but listen, that's that Gen Z in him, man. He needs
Nah,
to
I
hold
was.
that.
Don't get me wrong. That's not
He
what I was
needs to
saying.
hold that.
The entrance is good, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. Like 50 Cent's voice isn't the same.
Don't
That's what I
say
was trying to
Gen Z.
say.
I was there at the party vibing. What? I was there literally going on. Don't say Gen Z.
Listen, my agenda's gonna go, man. I don't care. But yeah, like it was good. It was good. The fight itself, I know like you guys have touched on it, a lot of people coming out and saying, it's like they're trying to take away Connor's victory, and I think that is so unfair. Um, I think Connor fought a very good fight, a very smart fight. He was very twitchy, he was quicker than Chris. Um, he he realized that quite early. Um, and when Chris, again, I'm not saying both things can't be true. Chris is clearly at this point in his career probably a shot fighter, or at that weight he's shot. There was no pop in his punches. When he did try to like time Connor, it was just half a second too slow. Me and Chris, like we was all there watching the fight, and we were saying Connor was still making those mistakes. Like sometimes he would lean in a bit too much when he was throwing his shots and putting all his weight behind his shots. And a better fighter would counter Connor, would have hit him with some sweet uppercuts or do certain things. But Connor is a problem, man. I feel like people need to realize that. No one's saying he's an elite boxer, but he's quick, he's explosive, and he's got engine. And like those three things, like me and Chris said, he's like a welterweight Woodley. He's not the most technical guy, but with those three attributes, if you put it well, you can be a problem for anyone. And Connor was a problem for Chris. Chris tried to throw counter combinations late in the fight. You see him landing on Connor. And the fight, it couldn't even buzz Connor. In the first fight, it was buzzing Connor. This time, it couldn't even buzz him. You just knew, yeah, it was over. And that's why I feel like it gave Connor the confidence in round 11 and round 12, especially to try take him out. And yeah, he just couldn't get it done. But yeah, it was a good fight, good performance. But I don't like how people who picked Chris to win coming out and say, "Oh, see, this is what happens when a fight is shot." Bro, Chris was shot at the first fight. You could argue that. Like he's fought at 160 for most of his career. Yeah, it was 159, but no one can come and tell me 1 pound is just gonna all of a sudden destroy the guy.
Yeah, I
Like,
thought he
come
looked
on.
shot in the first fight too.
Yeah, like I don't like how people are trying to take all the credit away from Connor. It's really
Mate,
distasteful, and it's because people don't like him.
honestly, honestly.
But yeah,
If
I
you
thought
like,
he
if you
looked.
thought that Eubank was gonna win, right, you shouldn't be making these excuses because everything's been accounted for. The weight has been accounted for, the age, the damage you took, and you still thought Eubank was gonna win. This is the thing. Now he's lost. All the excuses come out, and it just don't sit right with me.
Which is fair. I thought Eubank's been shot since the Smith win because Smith lost actually because that to me just the way he reacted and the way he fought it wasn't like a fluke loss. He just froze up, showed up, and
yeah,
he didn't look.
I completely agree. The thing
Yeah,
is, I
yeah,
think the difference is a lot of people thought he would still be too much for Conor Benn.
yeah.
yeah,
No, I agree. I thought that the shot version would still win, but this is worse than shot. But you can't take away that Conor made some good tactical adjustments that won him the fight. Again, at the end of the day, he has to still win the fight, and he still made those adjustments. The one argument I would make is everyone here is right in the sense that Conor Benn's athleticism, his twitchiness, and explosiveness makes him a problem for anyone. The thing I would say is I can't go based off of that performance and say that Conor Benn is elite or Conor Benn is world level even. We still have to see that because he hasn't fought at welterweight for how many years now.
yeah.
He hasn't fought a world ranked welterweight in however many. Yeah, I don't think he's ever fought a world ranked welterweight. So there's still more to do. The good thing for him is because he commands now so much star power, he can get that Barrios fight. And Barrios and Lewis Crocker, it just shows you how weak that welterweight division is. Where Conor Benn can pick up a world title because that's a very weak division. Had it been the division during the time where there was Virgil Ortiz, Jaron Ennis, Errol Spence, and Terence Crawford, he wouldn't even got on a sniff near the top 20. But this is the time to take it. This is the time to take the opportunity and see if he can get a world title, because Barrios lost to Pacquiao. That's just a fact. He lost to Pacquiao. There was no way in hell that it was even close to a draw. That guy is shot. Not shot, but he's rubbish. Not shot. Shot means he was ever anything. He was rubbish. He's always been rubbish. Lewis Crocker's not that good. So those are two names that he can go and get. And Lewis Crocker's on Matchroom, so he can easily make that fight. I mean, people are acting like Eddie Hearn wouldn't just throw his own champion under the bus just to get Conor Benn higher. Obviously, Conor Benn's a star. He's going to do that. But I can't go off based off of that performance and go, yeah, there's something really about Benn. I think there's something good about him. Like, he can definitely, if he has a fight at top 10, he'll be good. But I can't say he's a world champion level, or I can't say even he's elite level or anything like that. He's shown better than what he's shown before, but still, I don't think it's enough, in my opinion.
I agree with you. He's not. I'm not gonna call him an elite fighter. If he's an elite fighter, they wouldn't be talking about going to 147. They'll be talking about, because it'll be safer for him as well, right? They'll be talking about going to 154, fighting the guys out there. But 154 is fucking hell on earth. Like, there's no way he's doing anything at 154. So yeah, go to 147, make some noise, make some money, and carry on what he's doing. I just feel like the hatred of Conor Benn is sullying people's eyes. They just want to see him lose, or they want to see him get starched, and they don't just that's just all they care about. They don't care about him improving what he's showing as a fighter. They just, I hate Conor Benn, I hope he gets beat up. And listen, it's fair enough. You might feel that way, but don't take away what he's done, because you didn't believe before the fight he could win. I thought Chris was gonna beat him. Like I was saying in a group chat, like, it's just too big for him. Even though we all agree Chris looks shot, but based on the first fight, I just think it's just too big for him. He's still faster than him, smarter than him. But no, Conor Benn absolutely outboxed him, and I feel people should give Conor Benn credit for doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree. He still should get his credit for winning. And again, he's had two fights where he's made a crap ton of money that he wasn't going to do at 147. And now he's increased his opportunity and money at 147 because of his own star power. So let's see what the future holds. I mean, it seems like they are going for Mario Barrios. They're not really looking at anyone else. So let's see. They can make that with Riyadh season, and PBC are right now without a TV deal. So I don't think they'll be that against giving up Mario Barrios to Riyadh season to make a Pacquiao Benn fight. They'll get a healthy commission from it. So
I got a question.
Yeah, go on.
So due to this win, do you guys now look at Conor Benn a bit differently in terms of how you match up against other potential fighters, maybe at 147? Do you think?
Can I quickly interject? Just quickly.
Yeah, go on.
I'll say the only reason I look at him differently is I think he's a bit better than what I expected from him, but the landscape, because he hasn't fought at 147 for so long, and the way it's changed, the landscape of that division has changed quite drastically. There are champions there who shouldn't be champions. Rolly Romero, Mario Barrios, Lewis Crocker. That is a very weak division. Norman is a decent fighter, but that is a very weak division. That the drop off from Terence Crawford and Errol Spence to Boots and Norman, and then to Boots, Stanionis and Norman, and now to Barrios.
Yeah,
Crocker.
all the good guys have moved up.
And the 140 guys haven't moved up. Like, Haney's there. Let's see what Haney does this week, and we'll talk about that. Teofimo is not moving up to welterweight. I don't think he's that big to do that. I don't think it's in his capacity to do that. I think 140 is his weight. Tank is at 135. There's no one that at 140 that's really moved up to 147. So it's become a weak division because it's in that transitional phase where it's moving between eras. So it's going to be quite weak now. So the only reason I say he matches up better is because he's shown better. It's a mix of it. He's shown better. But a lot of it comes to the fact that the champions have gotten significantly weaker. Guys like Romero and Barrios and Crocker cannot be your division champions. And if they are, your division is very weak. Very weak. But Jide, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. The division is very weak. It's very weak. Look, bro, a man going 12 rounds with Manny Pacquiao who's 60 years old is just proof of this is just, it's just not the champions in that division aren't serious. It's not a serious division. Um, I feel like Conor Benn can go there and win a title. Crocker's gonna lose his belt soon. I think I forgot who's trying to target him right now, and he's not trying to fight him. Oh, totally forgot. He's a matchroom as well. I think Jack Catterall wants Crocker. I think he wants to go down the IBF route personally. I feel like he's gonna go after Crocker, and Crocker doesn't knows he's not gonna make that sort of money with Jack Catterall. He knows he'll make it with Conor Benn. So I feel like that's one thing. Um, yeah, the division's pony, man. The division's pony. If Conor Benn's gonna win a title, it's gonna be here, and I think he definitely can. That's my thing.
Chris?
Yeah, man. Pretty much agree with what Jide's saying, man, regarding the titles. I think Conor Benn's got a good chance at 147. We've not obviously the big hitters have left the division. And like Jide was saying, he's got attributes, he's got physical attributes right now at this stage in his life where he can be a problem for a lot of people. He can be a bit of a wild card. He might not be as skilled as a lot of the guys in the division, might not be as experienced, but we know that as Wardley has shown, sometimes having power and explosiveness can really change everything in boxing. So I think it's about him and his team trying to harness his athleticism as best as they can, and just target some of the weaker champions and see how far he can go with his career. He's marketable, he's popular, so there's a lot of money to be made with Conor Benn. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. How high he can go, I don't know. If he ends up trying to move up to 154, he's gonna get starched. He ain't got a chance. But at 147, right now, the way the division is, yeah, he's got opportunities.
Yeah, and we'll see what comes of it. It's good that I guess boxing has a British star. One thing I'll note is that there's a lot of whitewashing going on with this new British star, especially with the fact that since the new, how to put this, new people have come in, loads of journalists have been blocked from entering certain events, and certain reports haven't been able to be done. Certain articles haven't been able to be said, and the whole idea of the sport should be the fact that you report the truth, but you also give a whole account of what everything is. But nowadays it's more about whitewashing the story and putting the narrative so that it favors the fighter. And fair enough, if you've got the money, it's not ethical, but at the same time, you're going to do it because you want to maximize the amount of money you get. But that was a shame to see so many guys, journalists that got banned from this event again, simply because they want to report the truth. Because there's a big overlying cloud that people don't want to admit about this entire fight, that the first fight should never have happened in the first place because Benn was banned and that he still hasn't been cleared. And I'll say it because at the end of the day, that has to be said. This fight should never have happened. Conor Benn still hasn't been cleared. At least, if you want to talk about Canelo, for example, he found some way to excuse it. I think Canelo's still a drug cheat, but still tried to clear it. Benn's never really cleared the drug scandal. He just did a half-silent ban, came back and did whatever he wanted to do. But anyway, on the undercard, you had Jack Catterall batter Echo Esserman, and it's his first link up with Bozy Ennis. He looked much more aggressive. Jack Catterall's always been an accurate puncher. The only problem with him, he's never aggressive. He rarely comes forward, and when he does, he has good moments, but that's it. He's very passive. But this fight, there were glimpses of him being passive again and again and again, but really aggressive this time, and he really punched a hole through Echo Esserman and punched him through the ropes. I was really impressed by the performance. I thought it was a good performance, especially a good introduction to the 147 division. He was always better than Esserman, but to do that to him, to punch him out through the ropes, that was a statement that he made. Chris, I know you were watching that one. What were your thoughts on seeing Ekram Essuman get punched through the ropes?
A great fight, man. Great fight. I actually appreciate both fighters for different reasons. I've always been I've been a fan of Jack Catterall since Taylor won. I actually enjoy watching the way he fights. For me, he's probably the best British defensive fighter that we have at this point in time. And sometimes it's just good to see something like that. We don't genuinely see that in this country. And some people think it's boring. Purists might disagree or agree, depends. But yeah, he's an entertaining fighter. Esserman is a workhorse, crazy stamina, pause. But yeah, he's always gonna push the fight. He's gonna make sure that the fight punches are always being thrown. He's gonna tire out his opponent. He's gonna try and walk him down. He's gonna give everything he's got in it. But ultimately, the more technical fighter just got the dub. It was just too much for him from a technical level. I don't think on any physical attribute, Catterall's got him. Has got Esserman on any physical attribute. To be honest, speed, skill. I'm not skill, obviously. Speed, power, just overall strength. I don't think he's got Esserman, but what he can do is pick punches extremely well, and evade punches extremely well. And I think it's only a matter of time. You can only take so many clean shots before something's got to give. The stoppage, you could argue it's controversial. The ref should have did a better job at making sure it was clear that there'd been a knockdown that occurred. Esserman's obviously going to try and continue. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to lose a point. But it should have been up to the ref to really stop it, not Catterall. Catterall had no obligation, in my opinion, to take a break and whatnot. Esserman looked like he was ready to go. But ultimately, the result would have likely ended up the same way. Esserman's eye was completely busted up. He looked the right state at the end of the fight. And overall, a really entertaining fight and another good one for Jack Catterall.
Yeah. Jide, your thoughts on how Catterall dispatched of Ekram Essuman?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Chris said. I think Jack Catterall is the best defensive fighter we have. He's never one of the best. He is the best. And he's always had this stigma around him that he's not entertaining. So for him to go out there and essentially not change the narrative. I guess that's why he linked up with Bozy Ennis, right? Because he's seen as an expert with helping getting fighters maybe a bit too offensive with how Boots fights. But yeah, I think Jack Catterall fought a fantastic fight. And I do think that he's gone a long way. Like, that's probably one of the most entertaining Jack Catterall fights because he was throwing so many punches. Like, we said by the 7th round, this guy's tired. Like, he's not going to last it. So it was probably for me the best fight of the night. Yeah, and Jack got the job done. Esserman is so tough, so tough. Like, I don't know. He definitely has to be taking drugs, man. I just don't know how that guy just keeps going. Like, bro, you're getting your brain bashed in, and he's just like, nah, I'm still coming forward. His nose busts up, got dropped. Nah, he's elite, man. That was such an entertaining fight. So, yeah, for me, now it was fight of the night by far. So.
Dapo, Catterall, the next guy to watch at 147?
100%. Like Chris said, I've been watching Catterall since the first Taylor fight, and I really, really like him, man. I think this was probably the most entertaining Catterall fight I've seen, and I'm glad he had this kind of performance because now we can get some more people invested in him because he's one of our best fighters in the UK. And I feel like he causes a lot of trouble for some of the other guys overseas. We need these kind of names, these kind of fighters that you put them against some guys at 147. I feel like he beats. I feel like he beats quite a few people, and I feel like he can be champion. I've got more faith in Catterall becoming champion or unifying than Conor Benn. So yeah, I enjoy the fight. I think he's a nightmare stylistically for a lot of people. The fight itself, like Gideon and Chris said, Esselman is so tough, man. And his face at the end of that fight looked insane. It looked absolutely insane. So yeah, really, really insane fight. I'm glad he's had this kind of performance because this is the kind of performance you kind of need to get your name in the correct circles. I feel like for a while Catterall has just been known as that guy that kind of got robbed during the first Taylor fight, but now we're actually talking about, you know, whoa, this is a guy that could potentially become champion, or this is a guy that could potentially beat some of the top guys around the world. So yeah, no, I'm really, really happy about this performance for Catterall, man.
Yeah, so yeah, perfectly well summed up. And I think, yeah, with Catterall, someone he needs to push on, especially towards the 147 title range, because he's not a young spring chicken. He's got to get after it. So it was a good business from him. And then obviously on the undercard, you've got Adam Azim versus Scobie. I thought Adam looked quite good. Given it was short notice, given that, you know, he didn't have the entire camp to prepare for someone like Scobie, it's hard to predict what would happen. I mean, the business of how it went down was quite stupid because they announced a fight between Azim and Abdullayev, a fight that was never signed. Like, I don't get how do you announce a fight that was never signed on the contract? It's just stupid. They did the same thing with Azim and Eubank. They announced a fight that was never signed on paper, and then they didn't get over the line because Abdullayev had another fight scheduled anyway in December, so he was never going to fight Azim. It was all stupid business, but hey, that's certain promotions for you. But anyway, Azim looked good. He looked sharp. He broke Scobie down, and eventually Scobie had more than enough to take with with Azim, and he had to take a knee. You could call it an early stoppage, but I get where the referee's coming from. You've been taking a battering for 12 rounds. You haven't really offered much back. You took a knee and you looked a bit defeated. He just saved you. It could be a bit early because he could have kept coming and fighting, but I don't think anyone.
Sorry, I hear it. Sorry, I hear it. It's not an early stoppage, but it's the same guy, bro.
Yeah,
it's the same bloody guy. Like, that guy needs to get out boxing. But yeah, go on.
But I told you, I think it was quite a late stoppage because I think in the first round when Azim landed his first clean punch, should have been stopped right there and then. But anyway, but yeah, no, it's one of those ones. But I think context is needed. But also, if you have a history of early stoppages, it doesn't help you. That one wasn't great, but at the same time, no one's complaining because everyone knew Scobie wasn't coming back in that fight. He was taking a battering. It was getting bad in round 11 and 12. Was he completely unconscious? No. But there are some cases, I'm not advocating it for this instances, but I'm just saying in general, there are some cases where you don't have to be unconscious or look like you're about to lose consciousness. It can just be the fact that you are taking too much damage and you're not offering anything back. What's the point of this continuing? Really, Scobie's team should have looked at pulling him out because Scobie can still come back and fight again. And he offered nothing. He really offered nothing in that fight. And letting him go 12 rounds and just taking more and more. It could have gone 15 rounds and Azim just would have battered him even more.
Bro, after all the shit he was talking in the build-up, I don't know, these Americans, man, they still feel like they can like just, I don't know, anyway.
He was always rubbish. I think I've watched him because he was in Overtime Boxing. He's not great. I mean, he's one of those guys who's like fought around the domestic level at America. I don't think he ever won any titles or anything like that, like any domestic level titles or anything like that. He's just, you know, when you can like get your record to like 18-1, and I'm not saying he's crap, but he's not like someone that was ever going to break into like the top 30 in the world. He was never that. He was just athletic. He was just strong, and he's a bit tough, and that was it. And Azim showed more than enough to that his skills are there, and I think every fight that Adam Azim fights, you see that he's getting better, but more patient. He's not the young, fast, quick, aggressive. I want to be flashy and get them out. It's I'm sharp, I'm quick, I can move, but I'm also patient. I'm going to break these guys down. I think there needs to be a bit more from him where He sometimes pulls back with his chin in the air because he thinks he's quick enough to move out of the way, and he does it a lot of the times. But sometimes, you're asking to get knocked out with those type of movements. Guard manipulation, being crafty is something he's got to work on, being able to break down guards. I mean, you look at the difference in the 2 weeks. I mean, how Adam Azim tried to break down a high guard and how Virgil Ortiz does it. Virgil Ortiz is a master at breaking down that high guard, pulling down the gloves, feinting to the body, hitting the head. Any type of tactic you can use, using your forearm to push off and then land a shot. Virgil Ortiz, you watch some of his fights, you can see how he breaks down a guard. I think Adam Azim needs to start learning some of that, how to manipulate, because he's sharp enough to do that and quick enough to do that. But yeah, it was a good performance, and I think next year has to be it has to be a big year for him. I think he's got to fight 3 times a year. Dalton Smith should be on the agenda. I think they're now at the point where the crossroads has to happen, regardless of what happens with Superior Matias. If Dalton Smith wins, perfect. You make a world title fight between him and Azim, and you can do it in, like, I don't know, the O2 or something. If not, you can still do that fight. But it's the perfect time for them to fight next year. And Azim's at that level where you now need to start letting the handbrake off slowly. You need to start letting it off and getting him fighting the top 20 in the world, getting him to fight the top 50 and then the top 10. Then for world title eliminators in a world title, he's near that. He's near that point now. But Chris, what were your thoughts on Adam Azim?
Yes, did what he needed to do. Look sharp. Spoken to a few people that sparred him, who told me he'd been looking like increasingly sharp. One of the guys actually who usually goes toe to toe with Adam Azim in sparring said he'd done him over the last time they sparred. So things have been looking positive. I think he's been taking his training seriously, becoming more educated. I also happened to run into some of Scobie's guys who were extremely confident that he'd win. And it was just a bit baffling to me for them to have such confidence and for him to look like that. I really don't get it. Maybe it's a bit of blind faith, but he just didn't look of the standard at all. Punching back from start to finish. A lot of them body shots from Adam Azim, great body shots actually, like really angled well, thrown correctly, were just landing at will. And to be honest, I really don't know how he managed to find himself in there, but good win for Azim, good run out. And like you said, for me, it's got to be Dalton Smith. They've really got to get their fight scheduled, because I think at this point it almost looks like an element of ducking going on. But yeah, great fight, and on to the next for Adam Azim.
Jide, how do you find the Azim performance?
Yeah, like I said, I think it was an excellent performance. He's fast, he's explosive, and like you saw even in the rounds, like I forgot which round it is. He went and asked, "Can he like stick it on Scobie?" It's like he figured him out, and he's just like, "I want to put on a show here. I don't need to be careful," and he beat the shit out of him, man. I can't wait for that Dalton Smith fight. I think that's going to be such a good fight because Dalton Smith will hit Azim, but I feel like Azim is just so good. He's so good. I'm such a fan of him that I can't wait for that fight. I think that fight's going to be a top fight. So just on to the next one. I think he's the next star, man. He just needs to be built well. Eddie needs to really push him. I feel like do a better job than Frank's doing with my man. What's his name?
Eddie.
Not
He's
Eddie, bro.
Ben.
Not Eddie.
He's
Sorry. Ben Shalom needs to do a better job with him than
And that's the problem.
with Queensbury are doing with. No, but I feel like the Asian, like, bro, Amir Khan, we saw how like the Asian community got behind him. Like you have Azim, you have why does his name keep slipping my mind? You have those two guys.
Shiraz.
One's, yes, that's it. One's like destroying guys at middleweight. Now he's at super middleweight. You should be pushing him for a Canelo fight. And with Azim, bro, he shouldn't just be lingering on just there. Like Azim as well should do fuck this loyalty thing and say, I'm gonna go with Eddie, or I'm gonna go with Frank. Like these guys should be the spearhead in the new era of British boxing because they're both easily one of our best products, and they're both very, very exciting. Like I enjoy that fight. Like Scobie got absolutely battered, absolutely loved it. And yeah, I can't wait to see what he does next. But yeah, hopefully it's a Dalton Smith fight.
Before I get on to that, I just mentioned that with Shiraz and Azim, had this been the previous era, at the stages that they are in their careers, they're selling out O2. They've got thousands and thousands of fans who will buy tickets. The reason why it's not the same nowadays is because nowadays fighters aren't conditioned in the same way to do so. The bag is there. You don't have to build yourself. The Riyadh season's coming in, and they're telling you, we'll give you money to go and fight. You know, if you're Moses Atam, we're giving you money to go and fight Dylan White in Riyadh. Money you're never going to get straight away right now. You're not going to get this type of money now. So we'll take it. And when they're not that focused or bothered about making themselves into stars. This is the first time Adam Azim's fought on a big card. And how many fights is he in? And you think, well, the way you promoted him, he should have been on a big card already. And more people are taking notice of him. Hamza Shiraz, he's so easily marketable. I wonder why hasn't he been on Good Morning Britain? Why hasn't he been on ITV or BBC or any of these big outlets? Why hasn't he gone to America and done all this stuff there? In America, when he fought and he got a bit of traction, Americans were taking notice of him. Again, like I say, he's easily marketable. You can easily put him in the front, and he can talk as well. He talks well. The problem nowadays, like I said, is most of these fighters don't want to do the work outside of boxing. So they'll take the bag that comes towards them, the short bag, because they're not thinking long term. Someone like Moses Atama, look at his skills. That guy should be easily selling out O2. But I promise you now, you go down the street, you ask people who Moses Atama is, you'll take at least 2 hours before someone says, "Oh, I know that guy." He's not known. For the stage he's at in his career, he should be, but he's not. Because they're not building themselves like that, and they don't care. And the way the new guys have come in, the new promoters of the boxing, of how it's gone now, they know the game, but they don't care because all they want is the easy bag. They don't want to do the work of promoting anymore. So everyone's just taking the easy bag now. And that's why we're not getting these big stars. Like someone like I said, someone like Azim should be easy to know the fact that he should have been on the first Eubank Benn card. And now he's on the Eubank Benn 2 card. He should have been on bigger cards before then. But they haven't put him on there. And this is why. You know, like you say, Jide, we've got these stars that should be marketable, but for some reason they just don't seem like they're there. It's because of this. Simple. It's simple maths, and these guys know it. They just don't want to put the work in. And like I'm sorry to call it out, but it is what it is. That the level that these guys are at in terms of their marketability and the ability to sell is lower than where it should be, but it's because they don't want to put the work in. So it is what it is. But Dapper, what was your thoughts on Azim knocking out Scobie?
Thought it was a dominant performance. Thought it was a good fight. But I echo everything you both mentioned. It's a little bit disappointed that Azim isn't getting the traction that I feel like a fighter with his talent should be getting. I feel like he should be a bit more ahead now in his career. How many fights is he in now? 15? 15 fights?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to really invest in our British fighters that are really talented. And I want to see Azim on more of these top cards. But yeah, there's nothing much I could add to that. You guys have really pretty much summed it up perfectly. But I like the performance. I think Azim has got a really bright future ahead of him. I thought it was a really good fight. Scobie is a tough guy, but you can tell they're just levels apart in terms of boxing ability. And he essentially picked him apart and stopped it. So yeah, I'm very keen to see where Azim goes from here. I think there's some really good names out there for him now we need to start progressing him along now, because him and Shiraz, the British Asian fighters are quite talented. It would be a shame to waste them on these meaty fights, meaty cards. So let's get these guys on big cards,
Yeah, no, you're right. And again, I think coming back to my previous point, it sounds a bit old-headed of me, but it's also a generational shift. Most people nowadays aren't thinking of the long game and putting in the effort and building the bricks now so you can create something big. It's about short term. what can I get quickly? Like Azim, I think he stated in an interview this month before the Scobie fight, his intentions to retire at the age of 31. Now, it's good that someone doesn't want to be in boxing for that long, but that you can also tell from that he's taking the short route and trying to get as much money quickly as possible rather than building something that will make him a bigger star. So yeah, it's a shame to see, but that was the UK side of things, and that event was really good. I think most of the fights were quite fun to watch, and it was a great event. Again, 3 stadium fights we've had in the UK, which is good. It keeps the boxing healthy in the country, so hopefully it can continue. And this weekend we go over to Saudi Arabia for the Ring 4, Benavidez versus Yarde, Norman Jr. versus Haney, Sam Noakes versus Abdullah Mason, and of course Bam Rodriguez versus Puma Martinez. I'm going to get into all of it. We'll start off with, of course, the main event. David Benavidez defending his WBC interim title against Anthony Yarde. This is a big 175 showdown between the two guys. David Benavidez's third fight at 175. Performances against Gvozdyk and Morel garnered him as a top 3 175er on the planet. There were performances where the Mexican Monster really had to dig deep. He won, and I think he won with, there was no argument in who won that fight, but he didn't look like the Mexican Monster at 168. I think there's always been those critics that he's come to 175 and he's found people in and around his weight class that will challenge him and strong enough to challenge him and strong enough to take his punches, but he's still got more than enough class to beat these guys. And he takes on Anthony Yarde, who's been around the division. He's faced the top guys in Kovalev and Beterbiev, and he's trying to make another run for a world title again. And again, another big, strong, athletic monster at 175. This is going to be a really fun fight and violent fight to watch because both guys don't know how to take a step back. Jide, I'll come to you first. Benavidez versus Yarde, the Mexican Monster versus Lions in the camp. How does it go?
I want Yarde to win, but yeah, I think David takes this one. The work rate, Yarde's just historically has not had the greatest engine. I think early will be very dangerous and will cause Benavidez a lot of problems. But yeah, man, that work rate, it's literally just that work rate. When it gets late and Benavidez is pushing the pace, I feel like it will eventually get to Yarde, and that's when you see the difference between them. But before we get there, I think Benavidez will find it difficult to deal with Yarde very early. But because Yarde is quick, he's explosive. Even in the Morel fight, Benavidez didn't look too great. And again, I'm not saying Yarde is Morel early, anyways. But I feel like that will cause problems. But then, yeah, I expect Benavidez to win that fight.
Dapo, how does this 175 showdown go?
I feel like I'm the same. I want Yarde to win. I'm rooting for Yarde, but I think Benavidez is a step or two above him, skill wise, experience wise as well. I feel like we're forgetting. Obviously, Benavidez hasn't had an elite track record in light heavyweight, but he has some really, really good wins in the weight class below, so super middleweight. So when I think about those wins and I think about his experience, I think about his skill level, I just can't see how Yarde wins his fight, to be honest. Benavidez is shown to have a chin. He's a durable guy. So even to say like Yarde could catch him with a good shot, I just can't see it. I would even go as far as to say I can see a late stoppage from Benavidez, to be honest. From rounds 10 to 12, I can see it. But I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Yarde can show us something crazy. I hope his camp is doing great, and I hope he's able to really show up.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, go for it.
Chris, can the beast in the East become the beast in the Middle East and destroy the Mexican Monster?
I think everyone's got similar sentiments here. Can he? Yes, of course he can. Will he? Probably not. And again, I think it's the work rate of Benavidez more so than anything else. Feel like he throws so frequently. His engine is extremely good. That I can't see a reality where Anthony Yarde wins a decision. Now that would probably leave, maybe multiple. He'd have to drop him multiple times or stop him to get the win, in my opinion. And while I can see him, I could actually see Yarde dropping Benavidez. I just don't think it's gonna be. It can be one-way traffic. What I do see and what I do envision is a reality where maybe Benavidez gets a bit complacent, throwing too many shots once, and Yard catching him with a counter punch. Because Yard can do that. Yard can do that. Yard can punch in between punches. His timing is decent. His chin is strong. But it's just about the likelihood of things and what is most likely to happen. And I think based on what we've seen of Yard as of late, didn't have the greatest performance on the last Ben Eubank card. I don't know. I don't really see it. He'd have to really, really get everything into gear. And stars have got to align, in my opinion, which they can, and I hope they do. I really do. I really do. But I think the odds are definitely in Benavidez's favor.
Yeah, I mean, I think Benavidez probably wins, but I don't think the gap between them is that big. The problem with Anthony Yarde is he blows hot and cold quite a bit. Like his fight with Vilkans was not good, and that was one of his last. And Yarde and the Arthur 3 fight wasn't great. But his performances against Beterbiev and Kovalev were good performances for the level that he's fought at. I mean, and then the Lyndon Arthur too, that performance was really good. So he blows quite hot and cold, but that's also been his career. He fights hot and then he fights cold. Like he doesn't, he fights the top guys, then he fights low. There's never been an in between with him. There's been a consistency of in between with him. So if Yarde shows up again, it's
That's
a tough
actually a
fight.
really good point, Naima. I never thought of it that way. It's a really good point.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard because when you fight lower, your level will drop because mentally you're not really as prepared, and that's your fault. You chose to fight that person, and obviously if it drops, it drops. That's what we have to go off of. But when you fight higher, then you realize the stakes are high, and I think Yarde is someone who's always mentally can lock in when it comes to a big fight, even if he isn't able to win the fight, he's able to put on a good account of himself. And I think he'll do the same here because Benavidez's defense, while he's got better, there's still glaring holes in it. And he's not, like I said, he's not the monster at 175 that he was at 168. He's not able to bully people the way he used to. And the mistakes that he makes are more pronounced. One thing he does quite a bit is he squares up when he's throwing his combinations, and he gets dropped when he squares up. He did the same thing against Morale. He did the same thing against Ronald Gavril. When you come in and you square up, someone hits you. They don't have to hit you hard. They just have to hit you a bit and they can catch you off balance and you're now on your ass. And that's a point gone just because of a simple footwork issue. And Benavidez has been improving his footwork, but it's still poor. It's still flat-footed and still plodding. But like you guys say, the work rate is quite intense. The combinations are really good from him. And he can fight he likes to fight in that middle and pocket range where it'll be hard for Yarde to get his shots off because Yarde needs to turn into the shots and get a bit of extension, whereas Benavidez doesn't really do that. He's more uppercuts, hooks, and he'll be closer in at times. And then his jab is quite good. And Anthony Yarde, I think I wouldn't rate him as having a good jab. But it's an interesting fight because I think Yarde's definitely got the athleticism and probably the hand. I'm not sure about the hand speed, but the explosiveness to explode into a combination or into a shot and catch Benavidez and drop him. And definitely has the power to make Benavidez wary. He definitely has the power to make him be honest and wary. The problem is, like I said, it's the hot and cold part of Anthony Yarde. If the best Anthony Yarde turns up, he could even get a win. But if he doesn't turn up, if the Vilkans guy turns up, he's losing most of the rounds. He's not able to catch that work rate and get back. I'm going to go off the fact that I think a good version of Anthony Yarde is going to come through. but it won't be enough because he will struggle with the craftiness and the combinations and the work rate of David Benavidez. But he'll have moments where he really shocks the world and is able to hurt Benavidez. I think he makes Benavidez look human in this fight. Benavidez has looked human in a lot of his fights. I think he's looked human since coming up to 175. And I think you'll see a few more flaws. I think a lot of people, especially the Americans, start to temper down their expectations of Benavidez as a pound-for-pound level fighter. Because while he's done the work, I think skills-wise, he's always going to be a step behind the elite level guys. Like, I will still maintain this unless Beterbiev aged like a, I don't know, unless he's aged off a cliff, he will beat the crap out of Benavidez. Bivol will beat the crap out of Benavidez. He just makes too many mistakes for them not to beat the crap out of him. He's a very good fighter. In my opinion, he's just not elite. But if you're a very good fighter, Anthony Yarde definitely has a chance to hurt you, and he definitely has a chance to make this a tough fight. And credit to Yarde because he didn't need to take this fight, but he did take it, and I respect it because at the end of the day, even if it's a hot and cold career, he fought Beterbiev, Benavidez, and Kovalev. That's more than most can say in the who go in the sport. That's a good run of opponents to fight, even if you haven't beaten any of them. So I got to give him his credit on that. But yeah, it's a fantastic fight. It's very violent, it's very fun. I'm glad that it's on British times because I really do want to see this properly. Don't want to be half asleep during it. So I'm just going to quickly go through the comments. Evening, gents. Ra says, evening, gents. Evening, Ra. Good to see you again. He says, why is everyone rating Benavidez like that? He seems to be getting this based on getting ducked by Canelo. Because people talk like the skill gap between Benavidez and Yarde is like a top pound-for-pound guy and an average contender. Ra's going with Yarde. He thinks he hurts Benavidez and gets him knocked down to keep him honest. He thinks that people are playing down or downplaying Yarde because of their contempt for Tunde. He thinks Benavidez's skills are meh. He just has size and a tremendous engine, and even the size ignores all that at 175. I agree with that. I don't think the size and the power isn't that pronounced at 175, and that's why if you look at a lot of his fights, he hasn't really hurt people. He's kept them honest. He just hasn't. He's not, like I said, he's not been the monster. I think again you're going to do the same thing.
Yeah, he's not a power puncher, but I don't think people downplay Yarde because of Tunde. I'm sure.
Yeah, I was going to say,
but we've seen enough of Yarde to know what he is.
I think people are a bit wary to say Yarde W because of what Naeem mentioned, inconsistency, right? You don't know what version of Yarde you're going to fully get. We know when it's time to lock in, he can lock in, but there are times where, like the Kovalev fight, for example, right? It was due to experience why he lost, but we just don't know if he can really manage get a W in a high level fight like this because he hasn't yet, right? Whenever he stepped up to a world championship level, he's lost. So yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah, it's yeah. Let's see. I mean, you want to see these type of fights again. Yarde is a top 10 175 in my opinion, and I want to see these type of fights, and this will determine who will fight Bivol.
I've got a question though. Is this fight more winnable for Yarde than the Kovalev fight?
Yes.
Okay.
I say that because Kovalev, while he has his problems, I think technically he's better than Benavidez.
Yeah.
I think Benavidez, like I said, he overwhelms you with his combinations, his engine, and obviously his size when he was at 168. So for someone like Yarde, there's more opportunities that present because this is a guy that's going to keep coming forward and keep coming at you, but not in a systematic way, in more brutal fashion. But that gives you opportunities. Kovalev doesn't really give you that. It's more systematic breakdown, using the jab, working his way in, making it tough for you, and then finding the opening. So I think this is more winnable than that fight. But Kovalev was shot to go against it. So
yeah, okay. Fair.
Anyone else got thoughts on that?
No, I agree.
Yeah, same.
Fair enough. It's a good fight. It's going to be a fun fight. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on how you think it's going to go. Benavidez versus Yarde. I'm going to put a poll out as well on the Twitter account. And I just want to see, especially this week, how people have got these fights going and what the public is kind of thinking. And we go down to the next fight, which is the co-main, which is weird. I'm going to get onto this card in a bit about the weirdness of it. But a great fight, a welterweight fight between Brian Norman Jr. defending his WBO title against Devin Haney. Devin Haney, of course, the controversial no contest against Ryan Garcia, where he suffered, I think, 2 knockdowns against Ryan Garcia, of course, who cheated in that fight and took drugs and came in overweight and whatnot. And then came back this year and fought former unified 140 champion Jose Ramirez in a performance that didn't really answer any questions. It kind of showed Haney to be very rusty, very rigid, very scared, but still be able to win majority of the rounds. But it wasn't something that inspired you confidence that he was over the hump mentally against since that Ryan Garcia fight. And Brian Norman, he's someone that's, was accused of ducking the Boots fight because he turned down the money that they offered. And he's been slowly coming up. He had that big knockout win over Giovanni Santillan, which really got his name going. And then recently this year, getting that huge left hook knockout against Jin Sasaki, which took weeks off of his memory. A brutal knockout, one of the most brutal knockouts we've seen this year. He's here coming to make his name because he knows he's not as well known in the American space, but Devin Haney is, and getting a knockout win against Devin Haney will do wonders for his career. This is a great fight because it's a crossroads fight, in my opinion, for both. It's for someone like Norman, this is the chance to become a star. And for someone like Haney, this is the chance to claw back your superstar status that you kind of had before. I'm interested in this one. There's loads of variables at play, but I'm going to come to Chris first. Your thoughts on Brian Norman taking on Devin Haney?
So I was having a conversation about this with Chide on Saturday, and I really think Brian Norman might knock out Devin Haney this weekend. He might not be as good of a pure boxer as Devin, but what he makes up for in likability is with his strength, his power, and his determination. He's also got a big point to prove, especially with the ducking rumors and whatnot. He wants to really, he could really send himself into superstardom with a knockout, and we know from Devin's chin that is entirely possible. The guy is scared stiff. To be honest with you, I don't know why he's taking this fight.
Bro, Devin's chin is sus, man.
If you got a
That chin is
suspicious
too
chin,
sus.
honestly, if you got a suspicious chin, you've really got to ramp your way up in terms of the power of the opponents that you're fighting. Do you know what I mean? But you've gone straight from a fight where you were literally on your bike for most of that fight to someone who's going to actually be able to close you down and who's going to be able to hit you a few times at least, and is going to check your chin. That's without doubt. Now, I don't know what Devin's power is like now. He looks in very good shape. He looks muscular. He looks bigger than Brian Norman Jr., but as we've seen with Devin, that often doesn't really mean that much. There's a lot of showy stuff he does in pre-fight and in the build-up, and then it comes down to fight night, and after all the aggressive talk, he's on his back again. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Can Devin win? Will Devin win? He's probably the favorite. He's probably going to be on his bike for a large amount of the fight. He might try and spoil the fight as much as we can. But what do I see happening? Just based on where the two guys are currently with their confidence, I'm really leaning towards a Brian Norman Jr. knockout or stoppage, really and truly. I don't think the Ryan Garcia fight was something that was completely out of the blue. It really could have happened a very long time ago. We've seen him hurt. We've seen him hurt in the past. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Dapper, does Haney bring his glory back, or is Norman going to put one nail in the coffin on the Haney career?
I don't know how to feel about this fight, man. Because everything that Chris has just said, during this whole build-up, I've had the same feeling. I just feel like I don't trust Haney's chin, and I don't trust him to be perfect for 12 rounds. I know he's shown in the past that he can be disciplined and fight a good fight, but he's fought people like Kambosos and done that to them. But this Norman guy carries like serious power, and he's hungry and he's determined. You know, and I don't feel like Devin is back to that Devin Haney yet. He's only had one fight since the Ryan Garcia loss, and that loss was really bad. So I haven't seen him recover properly to be like, do you know what, we've got that Haney back. So that my confidence in him is really low right now. His last fight, he was on like that. That's probably the worst Devin Haney fight I've ever watched. Like I really did not like that fight. When he was literally running away for like 12 rounds, just jabbing and running away. I was just like, I know Haney can have some really negative performances, but that was ridiculous to me. So that tells me that him and his team are aware that he might not be fully there yet. So they're incorporating a lot of defense as part of the game plan. And obviously defense is great, but offensively you have to be just as sharp. And I don't get that from Haney. I don't get the feeling of I feel like he can beat low level guys and do what he did on his last opponent, but I don't think he'll do that this time. And if he can't do that this time, does he have what it takes? Does he have the tools to claw to that W, to get that W? I don't know. I'm so split because the Haney that I've seen, so like if this was like the Kambosos, post Kambosos Haney, just after the first two wins, yeah, before he fought Garcia, I think Haney wins. But since that Garcia fight, there's just something sus about Haney's chin, man. And I feel like he can't take a proper punch. I don't think he can take a proper punch. And I think he is going to get hit this fight. So I'm leaning more towards a Brian Norman W. And I feel like he gets stopped. I think Haney gets hit with something and just cannot recover. And then that's it. Don't think he's recovered probably from that Garcia fight. I know Garcia did drugs and he got popped or whatever, but I feel like there were technical errors there besides the drug stuff. I feel like there was just mistakes that Haney makes that makes him really susceptible to certain punches. And I think that's going to get exposed again. So I'm really nervous for him because I like Devin Haney. I really like him. I like his story with his dad. I've been following him since like his early the zone days. So I like Haney, but I just feel like his weaknesses are now really like, exposed. So yeah, I'm very concerned, and I feel I'm gearing towards a Norman win.
Jide, how does Saturday night go for Brian Norman Jr. and Devin Haney?
Yeah, I echo what pretty much everyone said. I want it. I think Haney wins, but at the same time, I don't think he can do it because I think he still has PTSD of what Ryan done to him, and that ultimately will lead to his actions. And I feel he's going to be when he gets hit, he's going to be running around the ring like he does. And it's just going to try. He's not going to want to engage. I thought he's going to get penalized. I'm shocked Turkey signed that new deal with him based on what he's seen from him. But I guess they must be real boys. Like Turkey's really looking after the Muslims. You know, I can't lie. He's living up to his raps. Apart from Terence Crawford, unless we don't know that Terence is also converted. Like, but he's looking after them boys. Because Haney, I don't know, man. I will not be giving the guy a free fight, 20 or 30 million deal, whatever it's rumored. Not at all. But yeah, I think Norman is gonna beat him. Again, Haney should win this fight, but I need to see him get hit because what I saw last time just told me this guy's not ready, man. But listen, we'll see the fight because he will get hit. And if Haney weathers the storm and doesn't run, because again, Ryan didn't stop him. It's just a mentality thing, right? So yeah, we'll see, man.
It's interesting because I look at the fight and I kind of like Brian Norman's clearly got power and he's only 24, and it's quite clearly obvious in the last 18 months that he's been coming more and more into his physical prime and he's getting better. He's on a 3-fight knockout streak. Got some brilliant knockouts. The problem that comes into with Brian Norman is that his knockouts came against guys that are limited. These guys are limited in their ability. Giovanni Santillan, Derek Cuevas, and Sasaki, tough punchers. But they're guys that would complement Norman. And Norman's done that. That takes nothing away from Norman. He's done brilliantly. Showed good boxing skills to knock those guys out and beat them. But this is a completely different style. We've got a guy who prioritizes defense first and not offense. And so you have to go looking for him. And so I wonder, can Norman push himself to be smart enough to cut off the ring properly and be able to knock out someone like Haney? Because we can all say this, but when Haney fought Ryan, there was also an air of arrogance around Haney where he thought he could step to Ryan, and Ryan made him pay. And the Jose Ramirez fight, again, he still proved it tough to trap him, and he still managed to outbox him and win the rounds. Of course, the one thing that goes against Haney in that fight was he looked very stiff and scared. Like, he didn't look like he was ready to take a punch. I don't know if he has a glass chin or not, because you can't really. I think he's only been dropped in one fight in his career, which is the Ryan Garcia fight. He got buzzed against what's his name, Linares, but again, he didn't get dropped. So it's hard to say whether or not he has a glass chin or not, but that mental PTSD will take away from your performance if you're not able.
That chin is glass, man. That chin is glass, man.
Is what?
It's glass. It's glass.
How do you say it's glass?
It's glass, man.
But how?
The way is glass, man.
But how? You have
champagne glass.
Yeah, but how?
Glass cup.
But how? Are you just saying that because that's what you heard?
I feel
No.
You see, when he gets caught, he just reacts badly.
Yeah, he's like AJ to me.
He's
like
worse.
That's not glass chin,
He's
then.
worse.
That's mental.
He's worse.
But that's not.
I wouldn't say it's mental, because when I mean reacts badly, there's a difference between like a conscious reaction and just like a reflex as a direct response, like a it's almost like an autoimmune reaction where he gets caught and like his eyes start blinking up. He turns into like a bit of a deer in headlights. His legs kind of dip in. And obviously we've only seen that against, to my knowledge, Linares and against Ryan, but it was very pronounced. It was very, very pronounced when he got hit.
Yeah, which is true. I don't think he's got a fantastic chin, but in a 32 fight career, and he's been hit before, it's not clean. He's still got hit before. To say he has a glass chin because he got dropped in one fight is a bit of an overstatement. I think, of course, if it happens in this fight, then you can say, yeah. Obviously, if Norman touches him with that left hook and knocks him out or drops him, whatever, then you can say. I think. Yeah, I'm not. Has he got a chin, or can he take a punch in the way that I'll be confident in his ability to be able to take a punch? No, but is he got a glass chin where, like, kind of like Amir Khan, where he can switch off, boom, and that's it? It's rare that we've seen that from him. He lasted the distance with Ryan Garcia. He got dropped heavy twice, and still, or three times. I can't remember how many knockdowns it was, but he still went the distance. So, like, someone like Amir Khan would have been knocked out because he would have got dropped, and then Amir doesn't know how to survive or anything, so he's just going to keep coming forward, and he just walks into another shot and gets whacked out. So I don't think an out-and-out knockout is that kind of a favorited position to take based off of what Haney's done. I'm not saying that Brian can't get a knockout. When you see that Jin Sasaki knockout and how he knocked out Cuevas and Santillan, yeah, you can definitely get a knockout, but I think it's a bit overstated in terms of his chin. I think the problem, like I said, that happens a lot of the times with these type of fights is the big fights where let's be real, everyone expected Haney to beat up Ryan, and because he didn't, and because it happened the way he did, everyone's kind of being a bit on him, if that makes sense. Like, oh, He's got a glass chin. Look how the way he takes punches. I think mentally he has to overcome that hurdle of he lost that big fight against Ryan. He was expecting to win it, and he got dropped, and he kind of has to make amends with that. That this is boxing. He's going to get hit. He might lose a fight. No one's a perfect fighter, other than maybe Floyd, but no one's a perfect fighter. Even Floyd had to ride his fair share of tough shots. But he's got the ability to box. It's tricky. He's got the ability to box and make Norman look a bit dumb and chase him, because Norman's got skills. There's no doubt Norman's got skills, but Norman is not the most agile fighter, and he's not the most. He hasn't got an amazing work rate. I do think sometimes his work rate isn't that great, and he does suffer from a bit of fatigue, because it happens sometimes when you go into the later rounds. It's tough to do. But it's tough, man. This fight is very interesting, because if I hadn't seen the Ryan Garcia fight, if that didn't exist, I would have said Haney has more than enough in him to outbox him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he gets knocked out, but I can see Haney fight in such a way where he gets trapped a bit, he gets hit, and he moves, and he's not really engaging as much, and he loses because of that, because he's refusing to really engage, and it bores the crowd, and the scores go to Norman because he just does more work. I can see that actually happen. That's more my inclination, where I can see that happening. And the way I see him get knocked out from that position is because he has to just G himself and get into it, and then he walks into something, gets hurt, and then gets put down and out. But I really see him mentally having a limited performance, and Norman being able to capitalize that. But I can also see Haney just boxing well, not amazingly, but well enough to take the rounds from Norman and win this fight. But it's tricky. And for Haney, this is a big one in his career that will set him on a path on whether or not he can actually come back towards the big leagues, or whether or not that kind of downfall starts to happen, because mentally it will be a tough one to take if he loses this fight. But it's a good one. It's a really good one. I can't wait. I'm gonna go against the grain here. Everyone said Norman. I think Haney just gets it done. Just gets it done. It's not going to be great. I think he just gets it done. Ra says, hot take, Haney doesn't have a glass chin. He disagrees with Jide. Turkey rewarded Ryan with a world title shot and cheating, and saying after he said that he hates blacks and Muslims. And Turkey's left Kabaya, another Muslim, out in the cold. Mahmoudov and Kassan have been frozen out for public supporting Palestine, and most importantly, he's barred me, the most holy Muslims of all. Fair enough. He also says, getting knocked down and knocked out doesn't mean you have a glass chin. Glass is when even the non-punchers can drop you. Yeah, I mean, it's a very tough standard.
Yeah,
that
that's
we're holding.
No, I didn't say he's got a glass chin. I just say PTSD. You don't need a glass chin to suffer from PTSD.
Yeah, no, that's
PTSD,
true. I agree with the PTSD aspect. It's mental. You've brought into them. I think there's more.
That's fair.
Yeah, there's more at Dapo, because obviously Dapo said glass chin. You brought into the American obsession with the importance of punch resistance. Unless you're triple G level chin, you get classed as basically glass chin. That's true. That is quite true.
I'm just shook when he gets hit with a good punch. I'm just shook how he's going to react.
Yeah, I agree. I think if he gets hit, there is that aspect of mentally he regresses and doesn't fight well, and then Norman can just win from that. But
Even me, I've got AJ PTSD, boy. So yeah, give me grace.
Ra says Haney UD in a jab and clinch stinker, so he's going Haney UD as well. So yeah, that's an interesting one. So let's see how that goes. Just quickly, we'll touch on Abdullah Mason, a prospect we've been talking about for years, finally stepped to getting his world title shot quite early in his career, but taking on Sam Noakes. I think even though there is a world title, and I think it's quite early to pitch him for a world title, but if it's there, you take it. Sam Noakes is the perfect opponent for him to fight. Engine, power, not too big of a jump up, but enough of a jump up where this is a tough fight for Abdullah Mason. He could lose this one, but I think his skills, his sharpness, and his ability is going to be more than enough. He might have a couple hairy moments, especially the way his defense and his head movement is at times, but I think he'll beat Sam Noakes. Whether he stops or not is the determining factor whether or not Abdullah Mason can become a huge star. I think if he stops Sam Noakes and wins that world title via stoppage, he becomes on track to become one of the bigger stars and bigger names of the sport in the next couple of years. But it's a good fight, and this will really tell us where Abdullah Mason can go in his career. I'm excited for this one. I've got Mason winning this. I think he gets the stoppage. I think you'll see the star potential come out of him on Saturday night. And I think he does the job. Sam Noakes is tough though, and Sam Noakes is really there to prove a point, and it's going to be a fun one. It's not clear-cut Mason. This is really, really good. Chris, we've been talking about Mason for so long. Is it time now for him to become a world champion?
100%, man. Now's the time. He has an opportunity to do it. He's got a lot of the right attributes to do it, but there's obviously a big element of fear here where he is still young. He does still make some amateurish mistakes. It's probably going to be the biggest stage he's been on, the most eyes on him, the most pressure, and Noakes isn't a pushover. Noakes is not a pushover at all. And so if he is lacking, if he does get defensively irresponsible, he will get caught. And we've all seen him go down, and we've seen the way in which he went down. He got caught. He's been caught throwing. He's been caught like he can really lose this fight. It really isn't a foregone conclusion. So, but I wish him all the best. I want him to win. I'm going to pick him to win, but again, Sam Noakes is not a joke, and Team Noakes seems extremely confident that they're going to get the W this weekend. So we'll see how it goes.
Jide, how does it go Saturday night for Abdullah Mason and Sam Noakes?
Abdullah Mason wins, man. UD or late stoppage. This is his time. This is his time. He's been talking a lot. He's been gassing about how he knew he comes and watch his fight, how he wants that sort of fight. He wants to mix it with the big boys. This is the time. This is the time, and I think Abdullah Mason's got it. I like him versus many of the American fighters because he actually comes to fight. He's active. Well, a lot of guys were like this at the start, so hopefully it doesn't change, but they all seem to change. But yeah, he's exciting, man. He's bringing up that new wave of American boxers. Hopefully they all have that sort of mentality of the Abdullah Masons. We can start forgetting about the bums of the past, the women beaters and them guys there, and focus on like fighters like Abdullah Mason. So I hope he does it. Sam Noakes is going to be a really good fight. It's going to be tough. But I want him to win it so we can finally get like forced unifications, because certain guys in that division, not naming names, is holding his belt hostage and he's not trying to unify and fight guys. But yeah, man, hopefully Mason does it and then we get it cracking in that division.
Dapo, does Mason become a star Saturday night?
Yeah, man, I'm rooting for him as well. I think he's gonna put in a really, really big performance on Saturday. And yeah, I can't wait to see where he comes up. What the matchups he gets in the future. Yeah, definitely becomes a star Saturday.
Yeah, perfectly well said. And Raja says, are we presuming Mason's better just because he's from the US? He hasn't been anyone that you could say is higher level than Noakes. And that's a fair point, which is why I said this is a tough fight and it's a big step up for him to take, because Sam Noakes is on that world title trajectory where he's trying to fight for a world title and getting there. But the reason why I'm kind of going Mason is because when you can see things in certain fighters, I can see them do the step up. And when you see certain skills, I can see them stepping up and performing. I said one of the same things about Keyshawn Davis early on in his career. He reminded me of a young Terence Crawford with the way he fought. The same thing with Mason, obviously not Terence Crawford, but I can see these skills where I can genuinely see him step up and have the skills and the ability to take a fight like this and be able to shine and look good. But that doesn't come without the fact that Sam Noakes is a really tough opponent. And if he loses, it's not the end of the world for Abdullah Mason, but it does show us where he is at the moment. And for Sam Noakes, it will be a brilliant win for him and to push him forward towards becoming a bona fide world champion. So it's genuine tough fight. It's not an easy fight. I think any one of us here picking Mason, we're not doing it lightly. We know that Sam Noakes is really, really tough. And that's what makes this interesting. That's what we're interested to find out on Saturday night, whether or not Mason has what it takes to become a world champion, because these are the fights you have to do. And the last fight, we'll wrap up quickly. We've got two things to get through and then we'll wrap up. Of course, in my opinion, the most important fight of the night Bam Rodriguez taking on Fernando Martinez or Puma for the undisputed super flyweight titles. This is one of the most important fights in Bam's career. These are the type of fights where Bam will look back, where you look back at Bam's career and you'll be like, that's where he became the most dominant force in those divisions. Puma is a pound for pound level fighter as well as Bam. These are two top dogs fighting each other. I'm not happy with the fact that this is going to be on at 5 p.m. because, of course, I get to watch it, but it's not going to get the attention it deserves. It should be its own main event in America, in Bam's hometown, in Texas, wherever, and thousands of people live watching it. But that's not the case. But we've got the fight. It's a brilliant fight. Bam just beat Cafu, I think, in July, and now he's taking on Puma. Bam's shown he's in the prime of his career, and there's more to get. This is the fight where, for someone like Bam, like I said, it rubber stamps your legacy, becoming undisputed, but also being a guy like Fernando Martinez and Cafu in the same year puts you up for fight of the year. It does. I mean, most people are probably going to say Terence Crawford for his win against Canelo, but Bam should be another nomination should he win this fight. And the same thing with Puma. He beat Ioka, and if he beats Bam, fantastic. That's another fight of the year. That's him becoming fight of the year. So this is one that people should, if you're watching this fight card for Benavidez Yarde, make sure you tune in from the beginning to watch Bam versus Puma. Both guys are really well skilled. My only take on this is that Bam is coming into his skills. He's becoming much, much better offensively. His front foot fighting is just too much. His footwork, his angles, his speed, his IQ, his youth is just all too much for fighters to take. And he's on that elite level where you can start talking about him moving up and fighting those guys and the champions, like that Inoue class you get to where, you know, you can start fighting in different weight classes and we can start doing imaginary fights because we know that the world level fighters just aren't on your level. But he has to prove that this Saturday night against Puma. And Puma had a good fight against Kazuto Ioka. It was a tough fight, though. He did get hit quite a bit, and Ioka had a lot of moments where he countered Puma well, and he landed some good shots. I think he had him buzzed a couple times in that fight, but Puma showed the dog to win that fight. But I think because of that, I just think the styles will make it such that Bam will have to come through some early difficulties with Fernando Martinez. But I think he's going to run through Puma afterwards, and he's going to figure him out, and he's going to have too much, and he's going to stop him. It's going to be such a great night. And again, if you're someone that loves to watch pure boxing, Bam is one guy that you need to keep your eyes on. He's one of the best pure boxers we have in the sport. So I'm really excited for this one. Anyone else got thoughts on this fight between Bam and Puma?
No, I just think Bam's going to win.
Fair enough. Jide Dapper, we going with Bam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want Bam to win. I don't know much about Puma, but I want Bam to win because I'm a big fan of Bam.
Yeah, fair enough.
For sure.
Huge night for Bam, and let's see how it goes. And last thing to cover, and then we'll be done because it only got announced today. So I think, especially with the panel that we have, we should mention it. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua finally gets announced. An 8-rounder, Friday, December 19th, 10-ounce gloves. AJ's not allowed to weigh more than 245 pounds. This is a professional heavyweight fight between the two. I have no thoughts on it because I quite frankly understand it's a money game, it's a circus. Let them do whatever they want to do because at the end of the day, the sport has become kind of a bit of a circus with the way certain things are going. I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. So Dapo, the AJ super fan, tell me, how does this go? And your thoughts on it. Actually, your thoughts. Forget how it goes because I don't think we need to answer that. But what are your thoughts on this fight being announced?
I'm disgusted, bro. AJ, get your money in it. AJ it's been real, man. The career was fun to follow. It's been real. You know, we had a good run. Man's fighting Jake Paul. You know, in Ghana, you can kind of try and defend. You know, he knocked down Fury. You can't defend this, man. The guy lost to Tommy Fury. You can't defend this, man. I guess he's at the end of his career. He's trying to make money now. So, hey, it is what it is, man. That's my thoughts, boy.
Jide, AJ Hive, what we saying?
Yeah, it's an embarrassing fight, but it's the end of his career, isn't it? I don't know what more to add to that. He's basically shown by taking this fight, he's checked out. He's not trying to win world titles. He's not trying to do any of that. He just wants to make the bag, beat Jake Paul, and then fight Tyson Fury. So he's basically doing what Tyson Fury would do. I'm not a fan of it, but at the end of the day, if you are willing to put your legacy and your name on the line for money, that just shows where you are in your career. Because don't get this right. If Jake Paul lands a big shot on him, even if he doesn't stop him, but buzzes him or just does anything and then gets stopped, it looks bad. Tyson Fury got away with his nonsense against Usyk because he looked good in the Usyk fight, but we still bring it up. AJ doesn't have as much rope as Tyson Fury. He's already very disrespected in his career is very disrespected. He's not looked favorably by his peers. They all think he's washed. And probably that's partly why he's taking a fight like this. He's like, I don't care anymore. But the jeopardy for AJ is massive. Not because he's not levels or leagues above Jake Paul, because he is. But I always say this to people. A fight is different from like playing football, playing basketball, playing tennis. A fight is a fight. It literally takes one moment, one lapse of concentration, and you're now dancing, bro. And Jake Paul, I'm not saying he's the heaviest handed guy, but he can punch. He's not the biggest guy, but he's still a man and he still knows how to fight to an extent. He has way more boxing experience than Francis Ngannou, like way more. Obviously he's not as big, but Jake Paul's been boxing for like 6 years now. Like people need to put again, he's not we know his level has been woeful, but he's been stepping up slowly and surely, and he fought us quote unquote boxing Tommy Fury 4 or 5 years ago now, and that was a close fight, and he's gotten better since then. So I expect AJ to flatten this guy, but if he doesn't flatten this guy like he did in Ghana, this is him putting his legacy and name on the line. And when a man is willing to do that, I can't sit here and defend him and be like, yo, AJ, this is that. Bro, you've basically said, yeah, you don't give a fuck. So if you don't give a fuck, bro, good luck to you, man. Make that bag and hopefully you get the Tyson Fury fight after. But you are risking everything and you're gaining nothing for it. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Chris?
You know, I feel like I've got a slightly different outlook and perspective on this, where um, I, part of me doesn't really care that these guys are taking these fights. I mean, it's the easiest payday that you're ever gonna get. It's Jake Paul. You're a heavyweight. You're a former heavyweight champion. Um, like it's such a easy payday, right? And it's probably gonna be one of his biggest bags ever. That I completely understand it. People, the thing that confuses me, especially with like the media, boxing media, is you've been criticizing AJ for a very long time. They've been telling AJ to retire. He's not good enough. This person knocks him out. This person knocks him out. Okay, cool. You shouldn't then have a problem with him fighting Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? You shouldn't then have a problem. He shouldn't be the person to upkeep the entire reputation of boxing. Do you know what I mean? That's come from boxing media. That's come from the promoters. That's come from the audiences and the viewers and what people have asked to see. And it's all culminated in this fight being made. Um, he hasn't got anything going on. He hasn't got any belts. He hasn't got any titles to defend. In my opinion, fight the fight. Um, I wouldn't have had a problem with Tank having this fight if he didn't have a belt. Um, like, go and get your money. Go and get your money. He's done what he wants to do in his career. People are saying this guy is finished. I don't know what else they expect from him to do. Yes, everyone would like to see the Tyson Fury fight. I don't see how this gets in the way of that whatsoever. They've been trying to negotiate with Tyson Fury for a very long time now, to no avail. Um, who else do people want to see him fight? I don't know. You want to see him fight Woodley for a title? Probably not a good fight for him. Not going to get nearly as much money as fighting Jake Paul. Could possibly get knocked out again, embarrassed, destroy his legacy even further. The legacy that they're saying is going to be destroyed if Jake Paul. So I don't know. I feel like it's there's a lot of complaints, and it really doesn't need to be that deep. He's going to fight him. Um, After the fight, probably won't take much recovery. He'll be good to go again as soon as if a fight is made available. And yeah, that's how I see it.
This
Yeah,
fight
well, I'll
stinks,
say-
man.
No, what I would say is I agree with the sentiment that AJ always wanted to come back this year at the end of the year in the 8-rounder, and they were looking at ways to do it. And this is the best way in terms of money for him to get an 8-rounder, to get the cobwebs off, and to make a big bag from it. 100%. I get it. If I'm AJ's family member or friend, get that money, man. Like, money's not in short supply. Like, you go and get as much as you need. But for boxing, this is a lose-lose situation, because if Jake Paul looks anywhere near decent in this fight and hurts AJ or does anything, or AJ is unable to hurt him or do anything, people go, well, clearly boxing's a joke because of an influencer is able to come in with like 5 to 6, 7, 8 years experience and beat or make a former world champion look stupid, or or at least compete with him. But if AJ fights to near his abilities or anything in any term of ability and really seriously hurts Jake Paul, which could happen, there's potential for that to happen, we could really hurt him, people will go, well, how does it get sanctioned? Like, boxing must be a barbaric sport. If they look at a guy like Jake Paul and allow him to fight a former world champion who wasn't a world champion that too long ago, 4 years ago, and still in his athletic prime, if someone's willing to sanction that, especially a guy who's a cruiserweight coming up to heavyweight, and again, not any total experience, only fought one pro boxer in his career, or 2 pro boxers, sorry, one being Tommy and the other one being that rubbish guy that he fought. It doesn't look good either way for the boxing. Boxing does not look good. People talk about it, but it won't look good. The outcome won't look good. So again, I understand why AJ's done what he's done, but it's shown you recently in the last couple of years that nowadays more people are in it for themselves. Tank, again, same thing. I'm in it for myself. I don't care if Roach deserved a rematch or whatever. I'm going to go fight Jake Paul and then I'm going to go retire and fuck everyone else. You want the Shakur fight, I'm not going to give it to you. Yeah, I'm going to go fight Jake Paul, I'm going to go piss off. Same way AJ is like, this could go badly wrong in any way, whether I win or not, and it does hurt the reputation of the sport in whichever capacity. Again, but this is what happens when you entertain the side shows, the clown shows. For Jake Paul, fair enough, man. Like, who the hell would have thought when Jake Paul started this whole boxing business that he would eventually end up going to fight Anthony Joshua? But fair enough. He that's what he's doing and that's what he's getting. He's making a crap ton of money in a short amount of time. And I said in the group chat, I think if he fights someone like KSI, or now Andrew Tate's making that his Misfits kind of thing, if he fights any of those two guys, he easily clears 200 million from this sport because people will tune in. And to think that someone like Jake Paul could have made 200 million from the sport easily is insane. But credit to him, he's done the game well. He's played it well. He's preyed on all of these boxers' greed at times. But fair enough, he's done it. He's done the job. He saw the gap in the market and he's taking it. And this is what he's doing. I've got to give him his credit. I can't imagine this fight's going to be that serious because, again, AJ is not allowed to weigh us above a certain amount. It's 8 minutes, 8 rounds, 3-minute rounds, 10-ounce gloves. Again, you can still get hurt and everything. I just think AJ is just going to come back not in an impressive fashion. He's just going to look to box a bit, play around maybe with Jake. And Jake won't lose any credit for it. Jake does not lose any credit at all in this fight. If he loses, it's Anthony Joshua. Who the hell expected Jake Paul to win? If he lands something perfect, he's showing himself against someone. yeah, I think it will be an unimpressive performance from both people, and again, it will hurt the sport. But that's the game, that's the business. So that's what we're used to. Ra says, I think AJ labors to an unimpressive stoppage like he did against Hellenius. We've seen that AJ dwells deeply on his losses. Jake is arguably the best promoter in the world. He doesn't need oil state subsidies. He's true. It's right. I mean, he's the one that's got Netflix in the palm of his hand, and he's doing all these big events with him. With Mike Tyson, with Anthony Joshua. So he had Tank, obviously, but credit to him. He's doing his thing, and he's really selling them as well. So. All right, I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you for joining us. It was a good podcast. We got an hour and 45. So thank you for listening and thank you for joining us. Please let us know your thoughts in the comments, and also like and subscribe. And if you're not following us on Twitter and Instagram, it's at Ringside Fracas, because that's where we tweet about all the fights, the news updates, score updates, and also you can interact with us about what you think and what you want to see, and we'll always retweet. But yeah, keep joining us on this journey and enjoy the fights this weekend. And we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
Peace.